Hey everyone, it's Brian Kaplan back again. I'm from the Bigger Better Biz channel on YouTube. I also run briankaplanmarketing.com. And today I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Chris Lopalato of National Financial Credit Group. Chris today wanted to talk about the impact of COVID-19, the pandemic, and really the financial implications of COVID-19 on a personal level today. So Chris, thank you again for joining me.
I appreciate that, Brian. It's always a pleasure. For today, the goal is to be able to just, inform the people, giving the people more information on what they can do. We've been fielding a lot of questions in regards to how do I deal with my rent if I don't have the money? How do I deal with my mortgage if I don't have it? My mortgage is offering to defer payments. My mortgage is also saying something about a balloon. They're concerned. There's a lot of ambiguity that's been going on at the moment, given the current circumstances around COVID-19. It's a lot of people are at loss. They don't know exactly what to do. They have funds currently right now that they have in their savings, so they use their savings to be able to end up paying their rent, whereas they may have been laid off, or in some cases what's been happening too, whereas some people have not been able to end up collecting because they haven't been laid off exactly, but their company has asked them to take a pay cut. And that has been a situation as well.
I can tell you before you go on, my dad took a 50% pay cut. My mom was let go just last week. And then my family members, my sister-in-law took a 25% pay cut and her husband took another 25% pay cut. So we're seeing it. It's close to home. It's like the ice bucket challenge it's coming at you.
Yeah.
So very serious.
Common practice right now. It's very unfortunate. It's just one of those things that I think everybody involved doesn't know exactly what to do, including the business owners and the businesses. Should I lay off everybody right now? Should I maintain everyone as long as I can? We talked yesterday about the PPP for the business owners, and they're relying on that to come to fruition, so therefore they can maintain their staff. But at the same time, their staff is in limbo because they're saying, well, do I have a job? Do I not have a job still? Am I going to get laid off tomorrow? So do I pay my rent, my mortgage right now? Whereas, I have the money now, but if I don't have a job, how long will it take? Because unemployment is obviously backlogged. I've been hearing a lot of people trying to be able to apply for unemployment, and it hasn't been that successful with some people because they're backlogged. And then the other question is, when I finally do end up filing, when am I going to receive monies? Once that's taken place, how long is it going to take before I end up receiving monies? So there's a lot of questions. So here's my thought process. My advice would be, if you have a solid job already, that that your company's already discussed a plan of action moving forward. They've said no pay cuts, you're going to keep your job, and perhaps many of the people out there are able to be fortunate enough to be able to work from home and zero interruption to their work life whatsoever, with the exception of now having a whole new discipline to be able to end up working from home, which, believe it or not, that requires a certain discipline. Specifically if there's a family involved, children, what have you, even more of a discipline. And some people may not even have the luxury of having a separate office space per se to be able to end up working from.
I just spoke to someone yesterday who has a 9-year-old, a wife working from home, and he's working from home, 800 square foot single story house.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the struggle is real, as we say, for those that work from home.
No question. It is most definitely a difficult situation for many, 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 many people out there. And so we've been fielding a lot of calls. We service, thousands of clients on a regular basis. So we're fielding a lot of emails, a lot of calls on, what should I do? What do I need to be able to end up doing to make sure that I'm going to protect my credit? And obviously, not, I wouldn't say hoard, but covet your finances at the same time to be able to make sure that, you're spending accordingly. And so therefore you don't have to worry about it. Or do I go and dip into my savings? Whereas that, now might be the time to be able to dip in the savings. So there's a lot of questions that people have, and they're not exactly sure of what to do. So today, I think the purpose is to be able to end up helping those individuals to be able to give some advice that will be positive. Again, if your company is solid, if you've got that job and they've already announced that they're not going to end up having any pay cuts, that you're going to be able to end up working from home, not a problem at all. And you can afford to be able to pay your mortgage or your rent, then I most definitely recommend continuing that as normal. Paying all of your bills that you end up having. However, but if you are in a different position, whereas that you're not sure if you're going to get laid off, or maybe you already have been laid off, then I would recommend to call your bank, call your landlord, and have a conversation with them. Explain exactly what the situation is. Today is the 3rd of April. A lot of bills are due on the 1st of April. So hence why a lot of these people have been calling us, and a lot of people are feeling uneasy at the fact of what to do and how to be able to end up reacting. My recommendation is, again, continue with that communication, just like you would with any relationship that you end up having, and communicate with the bank. They'll have options for you. Your landlord may not. Maybe a landlord might say, hey, look, I can withstand this and I can weather this for you to be able to not pay the rent for X, Y, and Z. But maybe they may not, because there are some landlords that may end up having a situation where they also have their bills to pay. And so it's like, what do I do here? So all of these things are important to a lot of people, and what to do. So it's really by making important decisions to make sure that you're going to have money for food. You're going to have money for yourselves to be able to survive during this pandemic. And at the same time, I think that everybody out there, including the landlords, will be able to work with everyone. Maybe it's paying half the money of rent that perhaps might work for that landlord. For that smaller landlord that may not have, XYZ funds to sustain for a long period of time, what they may have to do is they may have to be able to end up paying their bills. Now, because the foreclosure moratorium, technically speaking, is only for the residents. It's not for the commercial operator and the small business owner that has. That moratorium is technically not for them as well. Now, I also recommend them to call their banks and look at their options anyway, because I'm confident that they'll probably work with them also. But, they have to be able to also end up preparing for the worst. That being said, my recommendation is to communicate with everyone. Your bank can offer deferred payments. Make sure that you read the fine print. If it's requiring you to be able to end up calling your attorney also to have someone else review it to make sure that this is going to end up being a good deal for you, then great. Because on the surface, some people are saying, yeah, sure, defer my payments for 3 months. But what about afterwards? There could be a balloon. There could be something else going on there that you want to be able to end up making sure of, that you're not going to be caught in a problem or in a bind after the fact of when this is all over. If your income was not there, then how are you able to end up paying that balloon? That becomes a problem.
Can you explain a balloon for people too who may not understand what it is?
Yeah, sure. So a balloon payment is that taking your rents that they're deferring those payments, or your mortgage that they're deferring those payments. Then what happens is that accumulates. So it compounds the monies until everything is going to be settled, the dust settles, and you'll have one large sum of monies. So instead of having that 1 month payment that you'll end up paying, that deferment of 3 months, at the end, you may have to end up paying all of those 3 months all at one time. A one lump sum of monies that you'll have to pay during that period of time.
And that's a recipe. That's a recipe for closure right there. If they lift the moratorium, right?
Without a doubt. there's a strong potential that there's going to be a lot of foreclosures out there, and once that moratorium is over. That being said, I think that the government will step in probably and be able to have to help or add some relief. But there are going to be a lot of foreclosures out there. There's no question about it. So that's why I say communicate with your bank. Make sure they end up having the right plan that will fit your needs. And most of these banks, the deferment, they'll add the loan, they'll add those payments to the end of the loan instead. Or what they might be able to do too is offer a balloon at the end of the loan that they'll have. So instead of being a balloon in 3 months, maybe they'll have a balloon in that the last payment that you'll have, whether it be a 30-year mortgage or whatever the case it may end up having, they'll offer that at the end of the mortgage to be able to offer that balloon. Or just add an additional months on top of it, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is that they're offering and however long that you're going through this problem. But I think it's going to be important that you communicate exactly what your issue is currently, and then make sure that you can project what your availability and financial abilities will be to be able to end up paying there afterwards. So you're not going to be stuck in a situation that is going to end up being a balloon, whereas that you're going to end up having a problem with and coming up with funds. Because that could be a lot of money for a lot of people. And I don't think that that's realistic for a lot of people to have and expect to have an enormous amount of money is being paid out after the fact. And then what are they left with? So some of these modifications that are being offered also, you want to end up making sure that you are reading all the fine print. And I would recommend perhaps having one of your real estate attorneys or seek out a real estate attorney to have them review it for you. And that way, that could be important. Just like any other closing that you would have on a mortgage, you want to be able to also, you have that attorney reviewing that mortgage for you before you end up signing. The same idea here is that you may want to end up seeking some additional advice. Now, not in all cases. In some cases, it may be really clear cut. You'll be able to end up reading it. They make it really simplistic. I know that a lot of banks out there are very understanding of this situation as well. And they're offering great deals, and that's awesome. But again, I would just review everything with the fine-tooth comb, read things methodically, make sure that you're making methodical decisions, so therefore that you can have a clear understanding of what's going to end up happening later. As far as credit's concerned, most, as of right now, there was announced, now it hasn't been official, we haven't received anything in writing just yet, but from what, based on the moratorium that the government had announced that the banks would do, they were not going to report negatively to people's credit report. However, that is a question that you should ask as well, because do not just assume. Make sure that you ask the question, what will happen to my credit if I take advantage of these deferments? Is it going to be something stamped on my credit report? Is it going to be something that is going to be a black mark against me on my credit report? Because that can end up hurting a lot of people there afterwards. And let me tell you, today on all of what's been happening, because this happened in 2008, whereas that the requirements and the guidelines for mortgages for qualifying changed a lot. Already we're seeing the changes from, a credit score X at a minimum score now has already gone up with many mortgage companies to a 640. That's much higher than what it was already. Back in 2008, they started that process. So that's important to be able to also end up asking is ask your bank, what's going to happen with my credit if I take advantage of this deferment. So make sure that you ask those questions. That's going to be equally as important as, deferring those payments. The same thing with the credit cards. Now, most credit cards now, once you log on to your credit card company and their online account, you'll be able to see a line item saying, call us and let us know if you're having trouble to make payments. We'll make some or help with some arrangements. That is going to be important too. When you end up calling them, you ask the same questions. What will happen to my credit if you allow me to defer at this time? Is it going to be hurt in any way negatively? Like, that's important to know, because then after the fact, if you've taken out some of you, if in the event that they, say, well, yes, it's going to be impacted, you may have to end up going into survival mode, and so be it, because you're not going to have the funds to be able to end up satisfying. But if some of you are trying to manage your funds accordingly and make sure that if this is being offered, take advantage of it, well, that's fine. Just make sure that you're asking the questions: what will happen to my credit? If I don't make these payments, what will happen? So that's going to be really important to end up knowing and make sure of before you just not make your payments.
And let me ask you this, because I just talked to my wife yesterday about student loans. That's another big hot topic. And fortunately for her student loan, we were able to defer payment for the next 6 months with no black marks on our credit, anything like that. And they automatically do it. Do you have any information on student loans for people?
Yeah, so the student loans obviously is a big deal, and that's really important. Um, the student loans federally, I know that the administration had came out and right away had said that the federal student loans that were there, they had control over. They were able to make sure that they were deferred without penalties and without compounding interest. So that was good, based on my knowledge on what they've guided. But I would still ask the questions again to make sure that they are doing exactly that. What's going to happen to my payments? What's going to happen to my is it going to compound? Is interest going to still accrue? Is it that my credit will be hurt or not? Now, according to what I understand, with federal, they'll defer without hurting or negatively impacting anybody's credit. That being said, there are private loans, student loans as well. Those private student loans, you're going to have to ask those questions by that bank that's providing that private student loan. That's going to be really important to know. What are my options? What can I do? What can I expect? So that's going to be really important. So I would most definitely ask the questions of the bank. Again, the same thing applies. Communication with all of them. So therefore they know. And, another thing too is students right now, whereas they may end up having apartments that are not in dormitories, obviously it was really easy because the school was able to assist with the dorms and be able to make the decisions pretty easy. They've already stated, look, we're not going to end up having classes in person anymore. The school's going to end up being closed. Go home and we'll be able to end up doing everything remotely. Awesome. But then what about the student that has an apartment that they're paying on and they're no longer going to classes and they're having to end up paying the rents that they have there for their apartment? What do they do then? My recommendation is call and speak to your landlord. Have a conversation with them. Tell them exactly the situation that you're in, and perhaps maybe they'll help you break the lease, whereas you're going to save that money and be able to end up going home if you have that option. Not everybody's going to have that option, but if you have that option, take it. Be able to end up utilizing that to save money instead of just spending money, whereas that it may not end up helping. Now, because of COVID-19, you also have to take everything in consideration, identifying what the situation is, the home life as well. Whereas that as long as you've been clean, everything has been fine, you've been staying home and protecting. So therefore, that if you do go home and there are, elderly living, in some cases, there may end up being a situation where grandparents are living at home with your parents or what have you, or maybe you live with grandparents or whatever that situation may be. Take that all in consideration as well while making that decision, because right now, who are at risk most? Obviously everyone is, but most who are at risk is the elderly.
That's good. And is there anything else, any other, any things that people should be doing? Should they be looking at their credit card statements and looking at, repeat billing and seeing if there's anything they can stop or cancel right now or pause so that they can save that money? Any other tips you have?
Yeah. So again, I would communicate because we haven't stopped making purchases. We've continued to end up making purchases. So when you end up calling your bank and asking for the deferment, you want to end up asking also, will I still be able to end up using the card, or will I not be able to end up using the card during this period of time? Because whereas cash right now, no one's going to be able to use cash at the moment because we're trying not to end up going to the supermarkets if we don't have to. We're trying to take advantage of deliveries if we can. So if you are in a situation where that you're looking to be able to defer those payments, well, then ask that question from the bank. Will I still be able to end up using my credit line, even though I'm not able to end up making the payments currently right now? Will I be able to do that? And that'll make a decision also for you, whether you pay your rent perhaps or end up paying that credit card, because if you're the one at home that you may not end up having that income coming in just yet, or unemployment just yet, and you're not, you're at risk of going out to the supermarket because you can't use cash, or maybe in some cases, the banks. So most banks today are closed. The only ones that are open are the ones that have drive-through. And so just in case you're not able to end up using, that cash, what do? Now, thank God there's debit cards, so you'll be able to end up doing that. So again, really plan ahead. Make sure we're hoping in all areas, including I think that everyone in the world, but specifically our administration, is really hoping that we're going to be reopening within 30 days. But from what I understand from Dr. Fauci, that this is also pretty fluid. So that could change like it did, whereas everybody thought that April for Easter was going to be able to reopen again and things are going to go back to normal. But instead, they've said that things are going to get much worse. Now, the goal is we have to be able to end up looking out and seeing financially how we'll have to be able to survive. So think of these things too as you're managing your money. My credit card bill. Before maybe you defer that, make sure that you'll be able to use that credit line, and or if not, at least make your minimum payments and then be able to still use your credit line to be able to make those purchases, whereas therefore you don't have to end up leaving your house, or whatever means that you need. So take that into consideration while making that decision, because that can be a real tough one too. First and foremost is you want to make sure that you have food for you and your family, because that's going to be really important if you are not working, and if perhaps that the unemployment checks have not been funded, or you're not receiving that just yet. So I think that they've made some amazing arrangements to be able to add an additional $600 to the unemployment insurance that you would already be getting, that whatever you qualify for, and then in addition to that, you'll end up receiving this. But these are tough times. So make sure that you plan ahead. Make sure that you're making the right decisions on the funding that you have to work with, on the monies that you have to work with, on all areas. And you look at ways that you can conserve. Obviously this is one of those times, although difficult, but you're going to have to look at areas to be able to end up conserving to make sure that you maximize those dollars and cents.
Where people have to be hyper budgeting, if you will, what do you think about a tool like mint.com, or one of those personal finance kind of budgeting tools? Would that help consumers, and would that help people in this time?
To be honest, Brian, I don't have a lot of experience with it. Perhaps maybe you could end up speaking to that more, that if you have more experience with that.
Sure.
I'm more of an old school type of guy, and I pay my bills weekly. I break it up in fours. It was something that I learned from my dad years back. So everything that I end up doing, it's something of a tool that I learned. Many different motivators out there and money managers will also end up using this tool as well, whereas they do that jar system, so to speak, and be able to end up having that so you manage your money accordingly. But so I do things on a weekly basis. So therefore, I know where my cash is at all given times and what I'm using. And I'll have 4 different accounts that I end up having to play with. Whereas that I might end up, I'll have my fun account to be able to end up using on XYZ, and a percentage of my income goes to that. I'll have my investment account that I'll have, a percentage that ends up going to that as well. And I have education accounts because I'm always trying to be able to end up learning more things, take advantage of more classes to always educate myself, so therefore I can help our clients and situations even like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm constantly educating myself. So I have a fund for that as well that I end up adding to on a weekly basis, from my paycheck. So I'm old school when it comes to that in regards to it. And so I end up using that methodology, and all of my bills, I divide them by 4. But people don't realize that this took place, was a law years back, whereas that all your banks are required to accept up to 4 payments, a minimum of 4 payments that you can end up making. There was a law before that wouldn't allow you to end up making anything more than that. And I believe that that's changed, where you can make multiple more payments if you want to, which didn't make any sense to me, years back. Why is it that if I wanted to pay my credit card 10 times that month, that I wouldn't have the abilities to pay my credit card and give them more money towards my balance? No, they only allowed you a maximum of 4, which was crazy. 1 per week. Which was crazy. I never really understood that. But I believe that that's changed. So therefore that you can end up paying more often today. But I do it on a weekly basis. I divide all my bills by 4, and I pay everything on a weekly basis. So I know exactly where I stand every day.
That's great. And in this case, especially, it's about knowing your numbers, knowing what you have to work with.
For sure.
I can speak to Mint, and I can say that mint.com is a free app, and it's actually backed by several of the banks. And what it does is it links up with your bank accounts. So I could sync it up with my Bank of America account, whether it be my business one, my personal one, my credit union accounts. And it also keeps track of my spending. So it categorizes my spending. So now I can say, hey, I only want to spend $300 a month on groceries for my whole family. And if I hit $301, I get an email saying, hey, you passed your budget. So another tool that maybe some of the new wave spenders might want to use, but honestly, we found it to be a great tool. It also helps because you can set goals. So if you're setting money aside for something else, or if you know that you have this specific budget, like we're talking about, then now you can say, okay, within that budget, I'm going to create subsets or categories. I'm going to have this much for groceries. I'm going to be paying this much that I negotiated with my landlord. I'm going to have this, this, and this. And that way, it also helps you to know your numbers, because you can jump in at any time, or there's an app to see where you are. But I like your system too. And maybe that's going to be another call that we have, another chat where we can talk about some different ways to be managing your finances personally. I think a lot of people coming out of this will realize the importance and the critical nature of managing your money and knowing your numbers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I started doing this and learning it from my dad, those apps did not exist. So it was a matter of getting old school, and my dad, came from Italy, and the one thing he knew more than anything else was math. And so that's how he implemented it, to be able to make sure that taking care of the family. It was 6 of us kids, and there was a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders. So he made sure that his math was on point, and that's what he did.
That's great. That's great. And I think this whole thing, and you taking the time to do this, I really appreciate it, because what I'm doing with these videos is, one, I'm putting them up on YouTube on our Bigger Better Biz channel so that anyone can watch them. I know that we're also sharing them on your website, nationalfcg.com, so that people who are working with you, the thousands of clients that you have, and also your business partners, your brokers and referral partners, can all see what's going on and get advice on the idle, on PPP, and now on just managing personal finance, because this is hitting everyone at home. So I want to thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your knowledge and expertise. I hope that this is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, same here. That's exactly what we do. And as you know already, we at National, we're here for the people. Everybody has talked about, even way back when in 2008, all about the bailouts, and that was all good, but we've always been here for the people, trying to help the people better in their credit and improve. And so we're all about education. Service is number one to us. Profit's not a dirty word, of course, but service is number one to us. So we're all about the service and making sure that people get the best possible advice that they can.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. And I'll be sure to add a link to National FCG so people can learn more about you and the company. And
Awesome.
Thank you. Stay
Thank
well.
you. I appreciate the time, and I'm glad to be able to do this.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.